Hey, Hound Dogs, I'm David Hankins.
And I'm Paul Hankins.
And welcome to On the Air with Power Squared. This week we have Tina Cesa Ward on as a guest. Tina is a writer, director, and producer of entertainment for television, and as well as the co-creator of Delegates, which is why she's here today. And Delegates has a Kickstarter going. How's that going?
It's going pretty well. We launched on Monday the 13th, and as of today, Friday the 17th, we are over 100% funded, which is fantastic for us. So we're very excited. Everyone at Artithmeric has really done this beautiful job with the Kickstarter campaign, down to the graphics, down to putting it together and all the rewards and all that stuff. They've really done a fantastic job. Ben and I have really just been sitting by. We've made a couple of videos, but that we can't take credit for anything else, but probably obviously the comic, but also just the couple of videos that we made. But otherwise, they have really done a beautiful job with it.
So I was going to ask you about those videos later. Did you make those way beforehand?
Maybe.
Okay. Because it was like, as soon as it was funded, there was a video like, I don't think they're up at 4 a.m. doing this.
It's the illusion.
Yes. Well, it was pretty good.
Video. But yes, Ben and I we don't live that far away from each other. If there's no traffic, it's about 20 minutes. But we, we both have busy schedules, and he has a massively busy schedule too. So we wanted to make sure to get our videos done, and so they can get them all prepped and ready
it looks like you guys are doing it live practically.
I know. I wanted it to feel like that. So
one take, good. I gotcha.
I was remember when LeVar Burton did the Reading Rainbow Kickstarter. He actually did the updates live, but that was just him.
Yeah. Well, they're coordinating with people in England, so it's a little
right.
Yeah, it's our little time schedules are really tough. We only have this small window of time that we talk to them throughout the day, and then we know we just aren't going to hear from them until we get emails as soon as we wake up. It's just such a time difference. It's you only have a short period of time.
I was always surprised though. I would send something. It used to be maybe he's getting more sleep, but I would send something to Andrew at like 11 o'clock my time, and he'd respond like, I go, don't you sleep? I mean,
Yeah.
So.
He was up. Yeah, I guess it's really early in the morning for them.
Well, but he was also, I think when I first started working with him, he had like a small child, so he was getting up all the time anyway.
Oh.
I give him credit for it. I'd be too groggy to respond. But, So tell us, this is Arc 1, the first 6 issues.
Yes. So it is. The Kickstarter is for a special Artithmeric edition, which includes the first 6 issues. As Delegates is a 30-issue comic book, so we're still releasing about bi-monthly. And I know it's so hard to remember what issue because we're always working on multiple issues at one time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard for me to always remember like what we have out. I think we have issue 18 now.
I think you do.
Yes. Because I think we're about to put out 19, and we're like working on 20 on one part. Like the colorist is working on one, the inker's working on another, and the artist is already moving on to the other. So we always have like probably 3 different issues going at one time, and so it's always a little tricky to keep track, especially for us too, because it's we wrote Delegates, we finished it in early 2017. We finished all 30 issues in 2017. So really when a new issue comes up, it's basically me, and I'm sure Ben does it too, but me for sure, is rereading them, because I'm like, I don't even remember what happens in this issue. It's like all new.
Yeah.
It's like, gosh. And sometimes we read, I'm like, oh, Ben, that was actually a good issue. And it's like, it's such a nice little surprise. And at some point you're reading issues and you're like, oh man, this isn't great. And then it gets better and you're like, oh, that's why we did that. So it's all fresh and new for us. And then, all the artists always have a different kind of look at it, which is always fun too. and working with them on it, and they always have great ideas. So Kendall is our Gates is our current artists. We've already had a few. So yes, back to the Kickstarter. It is the first 6 issues all put together in a really nice Artithmeric edition. And as well as that, it's to help raise money to do a French translation of the book as well, the first 6 issues.
Right. Because I asked them if there was something they wanted to make sure we mentioned, and that was exactly it. That is part to do a French translation.
Oh, is that?
Yep. So that's part of my notes I'll get rid of.
Which will be so fast. It's going to be cool because in Delegates we have some French translation in there, so I'm very curious how it's like how are they gonna denote that, because we write it all in English and then we just have an asterisk that says translated from French or what have you. So I'm curious how that's gonna come across in a French translation.
And then it's my understanding they also want to do Spanish and I want to say Italian.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Continue the process. So this is the first step is French, and to then hopefully get them into bookstores in France.
Yeah, which would be fantastic. It would be so cool. I mean, to have your stuff translated in other languages is really a treat. So we're excited about that.
You should be. So you were, did you pay attention to Sean Hall's Dirk Brody Kickstarter?
I did. I actually, I was watching it from the get-go, and because I follow them as you guys do, I'm sure too. So I was seeing all the social media and seeing a lot of their promotion, and I really thought they did such a great job of it, promoting it and moving it along. So when they kind of came to us with this, it was really easy for me to say, yeah, let's do it, because coming from the web series world, I happen to know a bit about crowdfunding. So I know that it's not as easy, and that a lot of the success comes from the prep work. And I had already really seen from them all this wonderful prep work they did with, his, and it was like, wow, you guys know what you're doing. So absolutely, let's do this. So it's, they're really good at this. So I'm very excited. I'm excited for you guys too.
So are we, if we get to do one. We've been trying to do some other, if we get to do one. We've gone back and kind of remastered at least the dialogue in the first 5 issues, because we can't change the artwork because we can't afford it. And we've had a new cover drawn and a new back cover drawn, and so they seem to like those. So hopefully it'll sell.
Yeah.
So what are the first 6? What is there a story arc the first 6 issues cover, or is it just the first 6 issues? And
I mean, we wrote Delegates in 35 arcs. My math is correct. 6 issues each. So yes, the first arc is really them kind of, I don't know how much to give away, discovering things about Amina, who is the once president of Fuluadabi, which is this country in Africa, and there is a coup and she's ousted, as well as her kind of little band of misfits that go along with her on this journey. So the first arc is really kind of the discovery of all the secrets that have happened prior to the comic, that Marla Drake, who's our main hero, really starts to realize. She was hired to protect Amina, kind of in an undercover way. Is American in Africa, and was hired to protect her in an undercover way as her secretary. And so you kind of learn more about Marla, who she is, and instead of just Hembadun, the secretary of Amina. So it's a lot of discovery happens in the first 6 issues, and then we kind of jump off from there onto what's going to be the Delegate story. So it definitely lays the groundwork for the whole thing.
Okay. So this was you wrote 6 issues to be this arc, and they didn't just say, let's do the first 6 issues. Okay, so this is kind of...
definitely. Yeah.
So how did they so did they come and say, we want to do the first 6 issues, or did you say, we want to do something?
Yeah.
So, okay.
Essentially, yeah, because they wanted to do we had put together a trade for the first 6, just something we put together, and we have it, had it. I don't know. I think Ben may have pulled it down. Comixology, just because we know how important trades are. I mean, some people like to read comics every other month when they come out, and some people want to wait. And I know people like this that want to wait until it's in a trade, and then they'll dive into it from there.
Yeah.
So we knew how important the trade is. I mean, I think it's really important. I would venture to believe that we would probably get even more sales off the trade than the single issues. So we had one. So it's nice to, and we did a really nice one for what we could do. So obviously you guys know it's not, we don't have all the money in the world to do all the things we want to. So it's kind of nice because I just know Artithmeric will do just a beautiful job with putting a trade together. So we were excited when they wanted to put a special edition together, because we know that we could probably get some of the bells and whistles that we wanted to get that we couldn't get before. So
is there something in addition to the 6 issues that's in this trade? Or BD, as they're called?
Well, I think there is, it's bound definitely in a very nice kind of hardcover, I believe, and it has a different cover than the one that we put out, so that will be different. But in terms of what the content is, I think there are a couple of things that we might have in them that are different than the one that we have, but for the most part, it's just put together much cleaner and nicer than the original.
Okay. So if anybody is new to this, what was your inspiration for Delegates?
Well, I think mainly Ben had this kind of idea. I kind of came into the game, and after he had this idea, and then helped kind of flesh it out and have it become more of a series. But we've always, throughout writing it, we always stuck to the idea. We didn't want to have a comic book about AI that was like you see AI all the time. Either it's like the Terminator, or it's something totally on the opposite field. So we really wanted it to be somewhere in the middle, and we didn't want it to be about, I don't know, the destruction that AI can bring, or it's bringing up a bigger conversation on the benefits of it, but also what the drawbacks can be. And I think it tells a story about humanity and tells what it is special about humans that can never be replaced with AI. That's always been a big thing for Ben and I, definitely in our conversations. And we are, and it's good because we were always perhaps on different sides, because Ben knows so much about computers and stuff. Like in writing it, I would write stuff, but I'm like, I have to go to Ben and see if this actually works, or still, so I would say, what if this, that, and the other? And he's like, okay, well, you'd have to do that. Oh, okay. And so he would kind of be my guidepost for that. But we definitely had the conversation about human instinct all the time, and it became the idea of, is it real? Is it important? Is that what makes humans humans? And is that what AI will never be able to replicate? So there's a big part of that runs through Delegates, and I don't know if it's ever really been kind of explored in the world of AI. So that's a big part of it that I think that was always with us in writing it as well.
Okay. Well, let's take a look at your Kickstarter, if you don't mind sharing.
I will bring that up. Oh, wait. Oh, I see. I have to go into this share first before I go into the screen. Your entire screen. Allow. All right. Do you guys see it?
There you go. Yeah, we see it.
Yeah.
So
awesome. Probably never be able to get out of this. No,
So in your video, you talk about, besides Ben stretching, that are there stretch goals here, or is that still to be determined?
I think those goals are still to be determined. I think this really kind of caught us a little off guard to do this, to get to this goal maybe so quickly. I know that there are ideas of it, so I am touching base with Artithmeric about it. I would hope so. I mean, we have 25 days to go, so
Right.
it's I do have other things, so I would just stay tuned. We're hoping there'll be a little stretch goals going on.
Okay. So I noticed that who decided what would go in each tier? Was that Artithmeric, or was that
Yeah, they were yes, they kind of presented that stuff to us, and then we kind of would go back and forth about some things, but really we never changed anything. We just were like, yeah, that sounds great, because they always come up with great ideas, and it always I mean, they just did such a fabulous job, so we were always very happy and excited about all of this stuff, and we discussed the t-shirt design, and here, maybe I should get down to the
sweet.
t-shirt comics. I can get down to the tiers. Okay. So we talked a bit about what the tiers, what would go on in the tiers, and what would be given away. So, and it all kind of worked out for us, and we were excited to have a t-shirt, and that's cool. And then the fine art prints, which Ben and I signed all of them as well.
Wow, that's cool.
So we have those. So really, it's your chance to really get an actual comic book in your hand, which is nice. This is why I loved going with them and having an actual publisher. It's just so nice to have actual printed copies of things.
Yes.
So I always think of these Kickstarter as, yes, you're helping us, get money for it, special edition, so on and so forth, but it's also kind of a chance to actually get the printed copy, which you can't really get anywhere else, so it's I think it's special in that way. So if you really just want to get a printed copy, like I know I have friends and family that have been bugging me about, like, how do we get printed copies, and I've sent them off
Yeah.
to say, this is where you get it, but
They want it for free. No.
yeah, exactly. So now I'm just like, well, now is your chance. There you go. Look, you can be doing something to help us, and you can buy your printed copy now. So that's what I think is kind of the cool thing, is to be able to actually have a printed copy of it.
So who came up with the name for the tiers?
That is all them.
Okay.
They I know, that's what I'm saying. They've done such a beautiful job with this. Again, Ben and I made some videos.
I mean, do the names relate at all to Delegates, or are they just names?
Well, I think that it's like it's not necessarily what our delegates are called or anything. I think it's just an overall kind of fun way to call it the tiers,
Right.
So
Now,
we don't have a veteran delegate in the comic, or the seasoned delegate.
Yeah,
I could probably make
I was just
a case for some of them, but
the journeyman ace. Yeah,
Yeah.
It just seemed like kind of. I wasn't sure if those were just totally random or not.
yeah. They're
What do you think is the best reward that someone can get out of this, besides the book?
wow.
Or do you have a favorite reward? Like,
Well, I have had some friends and family do the tier 8 here, because they wanted a t-shirt. And so it always kind of, and they're like, oh, well, it's not that much more than the other one, so I might as well get the tier 8 because I want that t-shirt. So it's kind of worked out in that, even though they could have, get it in tier 6, but for whatever, I don't know if
the family, they
whatever.
should support you.
Yes, exactly. But yes, and it's and the fine art prints are kind of cool too. So, but if you just want the t-shirt and not the fine art, there's tier 6. There's so many things to choose from, so it's hard for me to decide which one is the
Okay.
which is the best one. I think that's up to anybody's budget.
So are the comic books the same as what you would normally buy at Artithmeric, or there's something special
Yeah.
about them? Okay.
Yes, they're the issues that you could buy from them. Yeah.
No, but you should buy them here and now because.
Didn't say that. I think that they're only. I want to say that they're maybe just available here now until the Kickstarter is done. I would assume.
Right. Well.
I don't know that for sure, but
Well, let's go on
going
Artithmeric and see. No, I'm kidding.
Exactly.
So, how you mentioned Ben, who I guess is on vacation or something, couldn't be here with us.
Yes, he is on a staycation basically. Well, he's still in the Southern California areas, because when we go on vacation now, unfortunately, we can't go far.
No.
But yeah. So yes, he is on vacation indeed. He's a busy man.
I'm sure he is. How did you guys meet then? For people again that didn't watch the first time we talked to you guys.
Ben and I met. Wow, how do I get this back now? Stop presenting. I'm going to come back to
All
it.
right.
Ben and I met through a mutual friend, Allison Venor, because Ben had made a feature film, which Allison helped him, was a producer on that. And then Allison was a producer for me on many things, Anyone But Me being one of them. And so Allison knew that I loved doing comics and wanted to do comics, and it was kind of at a good time for me because I had been working on some other live action projects that just were waiting, and she said, hey, so Ben is looking for a writer to come aboard to help with this comic, and it was in science fiction, which I've been wanting to do, but most of my work has been in drama, so I haven't had much opportunity to jump into science fiction, which I wanted to do, but I haven't had the opportunity to. So I was really excited about that idea, and so I met with Ben, and my big job on this was to kind of flesh out the characters and stay true to the characters. So the way I always look at things is what drives the stories to me is what the characters are doing. So there's kind of always my, I was the character lady. Make sure that, whatever I came up with story ideas, it's like, wow, would be interesting if Marlo is in this situation, what would she do? What if Saito is in this situation, what would he do? And so we really did go at it in that way. The kind of overall and the technical aspect we would talk about too, and Ben was really great at that. Like, again, with the technology part, that's so crucial to telling this story. So we complemented each other really well in that, because he was good at seeing the overall picture too of what we wanted to say, and he was always very strong in the thought of what this story about AI we were telling, and that always kept us on track as well. So
did you guys?
We had a good.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, we were just good compliment to each other.
Did you guys sit down and map out what we do 30, or did it just end up being 30, or?
I think from the early on, we were thinking that. I think it may have taken us a week or two to decide how many arcs made sense and all of that other stuff. But once we settled on it, we were pretty adamant about this is how long we want this to be. And so every time before another arc, we worked on them in arcs. And so we would come together for a few weeks, do writer sessions, whiteboard it out, really map out what we wanted that arc to be, and to make sure it's gonna fit in with everything else later on and all that stuff. And then we would go and just go write the issues, and we would just be assigned one after the other, so it's like I would write one, he would write two, blah blah blah. And it worked out well, because then on occasion it works out that you would write back-to-back ones, so you could write the finale of arc 1 and then you would write the first issue in arc 2. So and that alternated, which was nice for us to to both be able to do that, to have these two issues that either one of us could write. And so that worked out for us. And so we would just kind of continue to do that. We tried to do the write one issue, like if I was writing issue 1, Ben was writing issue 2 at the same time, but we would try that, but it became tough because there's some, as you know, when you're writing stuff, you're like discovering other things. And then suddenly Ben would go, hey, I figured out. So I'm like, oh, that's a great idea. Well, now I have to go back into my and figure that out and set that up. So there was often that stuff going on. And even that stuff happened even if we would write them one after the other. And it would happen that way. And it, ended up working out, really well because the stories ended up being better anyway. But we would always kind of have to do that. And we would just, because we wanted to leave, we would have an outline for what that issue would be. It's basically like, this has to happen, but how you got there was all up to either one of us. It's just like, this is the plot point that has to happen in this issue, but go figure out how you want to deal with that. And so in doing that, we might find other things that we didn't realize before, or didn't realize even when we were sketching it out. So it was always kind of fluid. No issues were ever really locked until we were completely done and with an arc, so because there could be many things that changed. It was a fun way to write it.
So you said you finished writing this in 2017?
Yes, I believe so. Early 2017, I think we finished.
How long did it take you to write the 30 issues then?
I would say maybe 13, 14 months. Like, it was over a year, but I don't think it was that much more than that. Because we would give each other enough time to write an issue, and then obviously that time to brainstorm the arcs kind of took up some time too. So, but yeah, I would say about that.
I know that in our process, when we present it to the artist, things will change. Mm-hmm. She'll want to combine we have final say, but she'll want to combine these panels together, or I added this panel, or I moved this panel to that page, and sometimes okay, that works better than what we thought, right?
Yeah.
Do you ever have those kind of moments, or are they just locked into this has to be exactly?
No, I mean, I think the idea has always been for us to want the artist to not feel like they're just a cog in the wheel, to feel like they actually have some kind of input as well. Our scripts are always pretty specific, but there certainly would be times that they would come to us and say, it would work better if we did this, or blah, blah, blah. And we were always open ears on it, for sure, and still are. There's certainly been things that some artists have drawn that we thought, wow, that wasn't what we meant when we wrote that, but boy, they made it so much better. Wow. The way they interpreted it. So there are those kind of fun joys that we get from working with the artist too. Is just you never realize what this different perspective brings, because Ben and I know exactly what it is because we worked on it together, but then you get somebody else that reads it and they have their own oh, well, I think it means this, and you're like, oh, didn't think of it that way, but you're totally right, that's so much better. So we're definitely open. We're always kind of open. We don't want anybody to feel like they're coming to work on Delegates to just paint by the numbers. We're bringing them on because they have these wonderful talents. It's silly not to use them. So yeah, we like to work that way.
So you mentioned you've had several artists. Was that planned, or is that? Do you have one artist that you'd like to do a whole arc with, or?
We hoped to do that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
The first arc wasn't necessarily how that worked out. It's just, it's up to everybody's availability most of the time. And whenever we worked with, we've, enjoyed it. It's just really comes down to, we're getting some great people that work on this, and then they go and they have other things to do too. So, our goal is always to keep on our artists. I mean, right now Kendall Gates has probably been the who does pencils, has been for the past couple of arcs already. She's been on Delegates for a little while now, which has been so nice. And it's because now she's in a groove where she knows all these characters, and that's a tough thing too when you're already always trading out either inkers and colorists and all that stuff, is they need to learn the comic again.
Right.
And they have to go, and we have characters that have, multiple skin tones. I mean, we're very particular on making sure these skin tones get done correctly.
Right.
And so Ben's really good at keeping track of the continuity. He is all over it. He knows who's wearing what at what time and everything. And so that's a lot to juggle and keep track of. So when you keep bringing in other artists, they've got to catch up. And then, they'll go color it and we're like, oh, that's totally all wrong. And then we have to go and tell them, but it's just growing pains.
Have you had any issues with the characters, the look changing with the artist, or have they been?
Yeah, I mean, it's inevitable that's going to happen. I mean, we've certainly brought people on to say, listen, we would like them to stay as close as what they were, but we don't want to take away your work. I mean, we want you to be able to put your spin on it, as long as, people can pick up an issue and recognize that this is Marla, and this was Marla in issue 1, and this is Marla in issue 13,
Yeah.
As long as, and some important things stay consistent, like heights and weights and all of that stuff, that's kind of important for us. So as long as those things stay at least consistent enough for people to recognize the characters, then we're okay with them being slightly, different with the artists. Because what can you do? They can't go in and mimic everybody. It's, they've got to put their spin on it too.
Yeah, but that was kind of, I think, our issue with the first artist was we were starting to not recognize the characters. They're supposed to be identical twins, and but
and that gets to be like a juggle, right? Because that's the challenge of bringing on multiple artists, is that you really have to keep track of that continuity so that your book looks the same. I mean, there's certainly been times on Delegates that we realize, issue 12, that we missed something back in issue whatever, and we're like, oh man, this has been like this for a couple of issues now. And we're like, well, gotta move on.
Yeah,
There's nothing we can do about it.
There was, we've been sort of lucky. We've had the same artist since issue 6.
That is awesome.
And we're working on issue 19 at the moment. So,
yeah. It's very nice, which has kind of almost been the same for us. So since issue 7, perhaps. So yeah, it's such a joy to have the same artist on all the time.
So how many different artists? I mean, you said you have a penciler, you have an inker, you have how many people do you work with?
And a colorist and a letterer, so yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Our artist does the inking. And
we used to have that, but then we have found that it sped things up a little bit. And, our artists were okay with it if we got an inker that worked with them and understands their work. But it helped to kind of speed up the process a little bit, because then, Kendall can continue to pencil while, Rachel Yu, who's our inker, can go and still be working on the inks, so we can keep it moving. It's all about getting them out as fast as you can get them out. It's been so long now, so it's I don't think Ben and I realized that that 6 years later we would still be
cranking through.
Putting.
So you've put out 18, we're pretty sure, and then you've got, and so you're putting out one every 2 months.
Yeah, it's turned out to be about one every 2 months. Sometimes it'll be a little longer, but and it's also because we're on Comixology and we don't necessarily know exactly. I mean, we can guess that if we turn it in here, it'll probably be this number of weeks until it's published, but that's never a fact. So it's always that up to that as well. So
with issue 12, we decided that we weren't going to wait for them. We were just we put it out on Wednesday, and they had told us when they were going to put it out. So we're just going to move on. you know.
Where did you put it out besides Comixology? It's just a.
Well, Artithmeric, of course. We also have it on Kindle, which is kind of where Comixology is going.
Happening? Yes, exactly. I think Ben and I just started talking about that.
We're been ahead of the curve.
We all knew it was going to happen at some point, but.
We've been ahead of the curve and been on Kindle the whole time.
Oh, yes.
No. And we also have.
How is it? How does it look on Kindle? Does it still have the guide view like Comixology did?
I don't know.
Or is it just
I don't look at it on Kindle, so I don't know. We're also on Global Comics, which is a digital platform that you don't have to download something for. You can just look at it on your computer and stuff. Nice. And then we also have another. We're also on Indie Planet, which is a print and digital. So we're trying to be everywhere we can be.
Yeah, well, it's a smart thing to do. Be as many places as you can be, for sure.
Well, we'd like it if we could, if Artithmeric can make all our dreams come true. If they're watching, we're waiting.
Yes, exactly. Well, I think it's lovely how dedicated they are. So it's and how supportive of everybody that they are. So if anyone can do it,
it's them.
They do.
They used to advertise that you didn't have to do a Kickstarter, and now they're doing Kickstarters. It's kind of interesting, but I understand there's a purpose. And so when does the French translation come out? Do you know?
I'm thinking by the beginning of the year we'll have it ready to roll. I think that's our hope. So probably early 2022 we should have it.
Now, is there going to be a Kickstarter-like thing with that?
I think that this is for the special edition and to raise money for that translation. So that will happen, and then I'm hoping it'll probably just be our big promotion of the new translation of that. I mean, I'm hoping that down the line we do more campaigns like this for our next arcs. That would be great too.
Yeah, I think that's their idea.
Yeah, and so I mean, and the great thing about this is, as you guys know, it just helps to give us a little more visibility, which we all desperately need. So I think that's what's the big wonderful thing about them doing this for us.
So I thought they were going to try to do, as I say, Italian translation and a Spanish translation, and I thought they were going to try to do sort of Kickstarter-like things in Europe to raise money to do that. Is that not what you've heard?
I think my brain is only thinking we're doing the French translation. I think that's the I know for this it's the big goal.
But you're on the call, right? Yeah.
Let's hope it's for other translations, because a Spanish one would be great too. So, as well as the other languages.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But that's you were there.
Yeah.
I'm not making this up. Okay.
And that might be right. I might just be not remembering.
Well, but you want to take one thing at a time.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So, how would post Kickstarter? Where would people find you?
On Comixology, you could find Delegates, and then obviously on Artithmeric, you can find us there as well. So, and also through our social media, we're on Instagram at Delegates Comic, and also on Twitter, same Delegates Comic, I believe, as well. So, socials were around, and then the other ways to buy it: Comixology and Artithmeric.
Okay.
All right. So if you're watching this on YouTube and you like what you saw, leave a like, consider subscribing and ringing that notification bell.
Right. Well, thanks very much for being on the show. We really appreciate it. I hope you have success.
Thank you.
Now that you've funded, that you double and triple that amount of money.
That would be lovely.
It wouldn't.
We'll see how it goes.
and we look forward to. We signed up. I think I was your 6th backer, so I'm looking forward to my. Yeah, well.
I won't ask you what tier you went on, but it's okay.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
I didn't do Angel. I'm sorry to tell you, but no, I want to
so much.
get a graphic novel and all that. So
yeah, for sure.
So until next time, I'm David Hankins.
I'm Paul Hankins.
And you've been on the air with Power Squared.